Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, this is David Macko. I started listening late. I wish I'd been able to listen to the first hour. There were several interesting comments made. Regarding the First Amendment is to keep the government from interfering in churches or religion. The First Amendment is not to prevent Christians or other religious people from being involved in the government, because back then we were a Christian nation. If we were a Christian nation today, we wouldn't have a Barack Obama or a Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or Harry Reid or John Boehner, for that matter. There was also comments regarding Washington's Masonic links. Most honest historians, for example, Nesta Webster, the 20th century, believe that the Illuminati had not infiltrated the Masonic order in England or in the United States at the time of the Revolution. In fact, if you visit the Masonic Museum in Alexandria, Virginia, there are copies of Abbe Barruel's book, Proofs of Jacobinism, which was a 4-volume history of the Illuminati, and also Professor John Robeson's book, Proofs of a Conspiracy. And there are copies of those in the Masonic Museum, I think, on one of the top floors. And,
hey, Mike, anything you want to say? Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec, Dave. Mike, anything you want to say on the Masonic agenda?
I could say something right now, Mr. Macko. I'm not Illuminati. I'm a Freemason, okay? You know what, and I work for a living. Rob will contest and vouch that I, work with my hands. I'm probably a mix between blue and white collar. I don't have any big government deals going down or anything like that because I am a Freemason. I can tell you this. From what I see in the lodge, there's no politics discussed whatsoever in the lodge. It's forbidden. You're not allowed to talk about religion, politics, or any financial business, regarding your opinions.
Okay.
Now, maybe, and don't get me wrong, because I have high regard for you that, maybe somewhere in some other part of the country, maybe in Washington, D.C., the Masonic lodges are doing something different. I can only attest because, see, every state has its own rules, for instance. And I can attest, the lodge I attend, we don't talk about politics or anything of the sort, or converting people or religion or nothing to the fact. So maybe in every group you have percentage. Possibly that could be Washington, D.C., or maybe some other lodge. I have never seen it. I've never been offered, any gifts to raise up into the ranks, as they say. So that's what I know, and I am a Freemason.
How about that,
okay,
Dave? We got it all right here, huh?
Well, I was trying to make the point that the people who state that Washington and the Founding Fathers were Freemasons and then try to go on to project something sinister about the Founding Fathers are wrong. As for modern times, one of my uncles was a Freemason. He certainly never engaged in any conspiracy. Some of the people who I regard as some of the better politicians and statesmen of the last 40 or 50 years, people like George Wallace and others were Masons. Jesse Helms, I believe, was. But in Europe, it was generally taken over by the Illuminati, and it did aid the conspiracy there. In this country, not so much, and I don't consider it a force for evil here at this time. Let's see. There were a few other points that were of interest, and I don't want to. If they come back to me, I'll mention them.
Vote Libertarian, right?
Quite interesting. Pardon?
Vote Libertarian, right?
Well, of course, that's a given. I can update you on that information, or repeat what I've said in previous weeks for new listeners. So,
Well, go ahead. We got about 8 minutes, and then we're gonna. Yeah, we got about 8 minutes, and then we're gonna get to the rest of the news for the day.
Okay. Steve Lineberry's case was defeated in the Ohio court, and he's going on now to the federal courts. Charlie Earle's case has not been decided yet. Everyone has the opportunity to ask for a libertarian ballot on May 6th, and if you do that, please write in Robert Bridges, Bridges, for Auditor of State, and Kevin Nedler, that's spelled Knedler, for Secretary of State. And if you have the good fortune to live in the 14th Congressional District, which is currently misrepresented by David Joyce, you can vote for me.
Awesome. So what's on your mind today, Dave, besides what we were talking about?
Well,
anything
what should have been on my mind would have been to get on the show earlier. I do apologize for that. There are a lot of interesting things going on. There will be a rally in Orwell on Saturday, May 3rd, just before the primary, and that will be sponsored by the Andover Tea Party. That was organized by good patriot Peg Slingloff, who just passed away a very short time ago. Fortunately, she had organized well enough so there are people left to continue that. One of my Republican opponents, Matt Lynch, will be there. Representative Joyce will not be attending. I don't know if the Democrat candidate has been invited. I don't believe he has. Charlie Earle is supposed to be there, so it should be interesting. It's at Chaffee Park, just north of beautiful downtown Orwell. And the snow should be melted out there by May 3rd.
May 3rd, okay. My dad lives in Orwell.
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Oh, another interesting thing, there will be anti-tax rallies downtown on the infamous day, the 15th. Let me give you the exact information on that. Cleveland Peace Action, which is generally considered as a more liberal anti-war group, is protesting against the grossly excessive military spending of the United States. You know, we spend as much on the military as the next 10 countries in the world combined. Now, it used to be basic military doctrine that we should be able to be stronger than the next 2 countries after us. I'd even go for 3 countries, but that's still, we could cut our spending by 60%. That will be Tuesday the 15th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. There will be one rally at Public Square across from the Terminal Tower. There will be another at East 9th and Carnegie, and a third at the Orange Avenue Post Office. So if you feel like about the income tax the way I do, I urge you to be there. I favor the Liberty Amendment, which would abolish the personal income tax, which, as you gentlemen know, was a part of the Communist Manifesto. It would require the FedGov to sell all property that it owns that is not necessary for the Constitution, authorized by the Constitution or necessary to defend the United States. The FedGov owns over 1 million square miles of the whole country, or almost over a quarter of the entire country. And well, again, this is another aspect of communism, abolition of private property and land. When the FedGov owns almost a third of the whole land area, you're talking about abolition of private property and land. So.
Well, you support the Liberty Amendment, and
yes.
This may be coming to pass, Dave. Michigan has become what some argue is the 34th state to sign on to the Article 5 Convention. The article reads, "Momentum is building behind what would be an unprecedented effort to amend the U.S. Constitution through a little-known provision that gives states rather than Congress the power to initiate changes." And it says, Michigan matters because by some counts, it was the 34th state to do so. That makes 2/3. In the wake of the vote, California Republican Duncan Hunter, who I happen to like, pressed House Speaker John Boehner on Tuesday to determine whether the states just crossed the threshold for this kind of convention.
Okay, now we're into an area that could take us past the end of your program and probably past midnight.
Well, we've only got, let me look at the time here. Yeah, we've only got about 2 minutes, 30 seconds.
Okay. It's having a constitutional convention now is a very horrible idea. It would be, remember, the delegates would be elected by the same people who voted for Bush's 3 times, for Clinton's twice, and for Barack Hussein Obama twice. A constitutional convention now would be like giving a book of matches to a little 5-year-old and telling him to go play in a nitroglycerin factory. I've used that analogy before, and I'm going to keep using it because it's so good. It's a very dangerous thing. Several of the states have rescinded their foolish, dangerous call for this. I'm not saying it should never be done. Maybe in 30 or 40 years, when we have an intelligent, informed electorate, there are a few things that may need to be tightened up, clarified, and such. If you go to my campaign website when it's updated, or to my previous campaign literature, I have mentioned a few constitutional amendments which I would support, but doing it now is horrible. Yeah. Remember, the only other constitutional convention we had was in 1787, and that was supposed to be a very limited convention to correct some of the errors of the Articles of Confederation, and they threw it out and established something entirely new. Some of the people who support a constitutional convention are leftists who don't even want to maintain our right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
Rob.
It's very, very dangerous.
Rob, can I say
All right, Dave, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.